Down on the Sunday edition of Tyrone Bowman Live. As I'm getting started on the program today, I want to add a word of caution. The topic that I'm about to talk about is very sensitive in nature. Parental uh, discretion is advised. Having said that, this video is also for purposes of information and education. I found an interesting story. I'm going to read you the caption of the story, then I'm going to show you the video. According to U.S. News, the section of The Guardian, the headline reads in a story written for The Guardian by Richard Lascombe. Outrage mounts in Oklahoma over a plea deal for a rapist, quote, that's sketchy as hell, end quote. So a judge, now listen to this story. This is what a sitting judge did. Jesse Butler, who's 18, faced 78 years in prison. But the judge reduced the sentence to community service and counseling. Now that's alarming right there. Anger is growing in an Oklahoma community over a, quote, sketchy as hell, end quote, plea deal, allowing an 18-year-old man convicted of multiple charges of rape and assault dating to when he was 17 to perform community service and commit to counseling. And first of all, I have a problem with saying an 18-year-old man. He is a rapist, an animal, a savage. That's what he is. Point blank. You're not going to reduce this, Richard Lascombe, or Lascombe, to calling him a man. He is a savage. He's a rapist. That's what he is. And something smells pretty fishy and sketchy with the judge. Had this probably been anybody else, they would have been given 78 years plus in prison. So Jesse Butler of Stillwater originally faced 78 years in prison after being charged as an adult over 10 allegations, including rape, battery by strangulation, rape by instrumentation, and domestic assault involving 2 women. What? Are you serious? But a judge in Pine County, Susan C. Worthington, granted Butler the status of youthful offender. He pleaded no contest to the charge and agreed to a deal with prosecutors that will see him avoid prison time and serve 150 hours of community service, according to the Oklahoma news channel KJRH. Let me wipe the pulsating sweat off of me. I'm already peeved. And it's hot under these lights. I ain't gonna play with you. So she said she reduced it to community service. Well, what about the victims? What about the 2 women who are the victims of this heinous, vicious assault by this rapist? That's one reason why I'm becoming a criminal defense attorney. I've said this on this program before, and I'll say it again. As an advocate, I will fight for true victims of crime to the highest, and fight for individuals who are wrongfully accused. And thirdly, when I come across individuals, and I know a lot of them, and I get into heated arguments with them off camera, and I tell them, you committed the crime. You have to do the time. Stop the whining, stop the crying, stop the moaning, stop the groaning, stop looking for empathy and sympathy. That's what you did. So you have to pay the price for what you did. The court in advance approved the arrangement, a rehabilitation plan authorized by Oklahoma's Youthful Offender Act for juveniles ages 13 to 17 who are charged with serious crimes. Well, it doesn't work like that in Philadelphia. They don't care what age you are. The deal has outraged residents and politicians who say it is an insult to the victims. You blank right, it's an insult to the victims. They, like Butler, were students at Stillwater High School when he assaulted them and were forced to share a classroom with him for several weeks after he was charged earlier this year. What the hell? Quote, to go from more than 75 years in prison to 100 something hours of community service, that's sketchy as hell, quote, close quote. The Republican state representative, Justin Humphrey, told the Oklahoman, that's one time I'm going to agree with Republicans. And you know what his mother said to him? Say your prayers. I'm going to show you the video in a minute. His mother said to him, don't forget to say your prayers when they arrested her son. Quote, this is upsetting to everyone who's heard it. Dozens of protesters gathered at the courthouse on Wednesday to denounce the deal and call for the resignation of Laura Thomas, the Payne County District Attorney. Throw her out. Vote her out. Get a petition together and get rid of her. Dozens of protesters gathered at the courthouse. Thomas is an alumni of Oklahoma State University, where Butler's father worked as director of operations for the college football program. Worthington is also an Oklahoma State University alumni. Oh, so the plot thickens here. Isn't this something? Quote, almost losing your life, having a video being recorded of you almost losing your life, and your assaulter being able to walk with no punishment, a slap on the wrist, and 140 hours of community service. That's just ridiculous. Adeline Smith, one of the protesters, told KJRH. Now, I'm not going to read any more of the article, but I will say this, because I want to get to the video. Information and support for anyone affected by rape or sexual abuse issues is available from the following organizations. In the U.S., RAIN, R-A-I-N, or RAIN, RAIN Offenders Support on, you can call them at 800-656-4673. That's 800-656-4673. In the United Kingdom, Rape Crisis offers support on 0808-500-222. That's 0808-500-2222. In Australia, support is available at 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-RESPECT or 1-800-737-732. That's 1-800-737-732. Other international helplines can be found at abiblio.org/RCIP/intern. That's INTERNL.html. Now let's look at this video. As reported by Vinnie Politan investigates for Court TV.
The subject of my investigation, the violent sexual assaults of 2 teenage girls by the same offender. He's been caught and prosecuted, but not really punished. Here's the story. Jesse Butler was a star high school athlete in Stillwater, Oklahoma, a big man on campus. But Jesse's life flipped when multiple 16-year-old girls accused him of repeated rape, strangulation, and violent assault. Police found video on his phone showing one victim unconscious from choking, a doctor saying she would have died if it lasted seconds longer. Facing up to 78 years behind bars, the community expected accountability. Instead, prosecutors applied the youthful offender statute, and in a stunning turn, Butler received a suspended 78-year sentence, avoiding prison time under strict supervision. Victims' families erupted in outrage, calling the result a betrayal of justice and an insult to trauma. What message does this send when a violent offender like this faces no real consequences?
Whether you're in the slots, roulette, or card games, we've got them.
This video is getting straight to the point. Now check this out. Vinnie will be back in a second. If this had been any other person, you and I both know there would have been no plea deal. That person would not be doing 150 hours of community service. He would have been tagged and bagged. He would have been on every newspaper front in the nation and the country. He would have been called a monster. He would have been called a beast. He would have been called a gorilla. He would have been called a rapist repeatedly. But this dude right here, this big, overgrown, monstrous, heinous thing, got to walk out of the jail with 100 of the courtroom with 150 hours of community service. What about the victims? They're not alleged victims, they are victims. What about them? Who speaks for them? Who fights for them? Who advocates for them? That district attorney and the judge have got to go. Point blank. I don't care. They both have to be fired. The judge should be fired and the district attorney should be fired. There should be outrage to no end. I have to take a break around 10:30. I want to get back to this. Let's find out what Vinnie has to say.
Shake your head for the next hour as we go through this story and try to understand what happened here in Oklahoma. Let's begin by bringing in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas, who's been on this story. Cody, let's start first, because I think we all need a clear understanding and picture of the specific allegations of the type of conduct we're talking about in this case.
Yeah, Vinnie, it's kind of egregious when you really go through it. Jesse Butler faced 10 rape-related charges for alleged incidents that happened throughout 2024. Now, he pleaded no contest to them in the spring of 2025, but 2 victims came forward describing brutal sexual assaults, attacks that left them injured, no less. They said Butler forced them into having sexual intercourse and into doing sexual acts, saying they lived in fear, giving in to Butler's sexual demands in order to avoid him hurting them even more. Now, these 2 girls said they each dated Butler for a few months each. One victim described multiple violent sexual assaults. Now, she said one time she told Butler she did not want to have sex with him, but, and we'll quote from the rest of the arrest warrant affidavit now, Butler became angry, came up behind her, put his arm around her neck, and strangled her to unconsciousness. She could not breathe, scratched at his arms, and tried to get away, but she could not free herself. The victim woke up on the floor of the living room after losing consciousness. Vinnie goes on to say she reported there were red marks across her neck after Butler strangled her. Approximately 15 minutes after strangling her, Butler initiated sexual intercourse with her. Butler had sexual intercourse 3 or 4 times. The victim complied out of fear that he would strangle her again or hurt her. The victim reported Butler wanted to have sexual intercourse every day. She described feeling coerced to comply to avoid being hurt. In addition to sexual intercourse, the victim reported Butler forced her to perform oral sex on him. He forcefully grabbed her head and pushed her down onto his penis. And after that, we feel the story becomes a bit too graphic to read on our show. But it goes on also to say the victim reported Butler digitally penetrated her so aggressively it caused her to bleed. The victim stated, "No matter what I told him, it did not change his mind." Now, there are many stories like this. Now, these 2 victims described Butler forcing them into many different kinds of sexual acts that they didn't want any part of. And on top of all of that, investigators say they found a video they say shows Butler strangling one of the victims until she's unconscious. They say the timestamp backs up the victim's story. Now, I want to point out, Butler wasn't charged with rape by sexual intercourse. So prosecutors determined that while he allegedly coerced these girls into having sex with him, they ultimately consented. The charges were strangulation related and for kidnapping, sexual battery, and attempted rape and rape by instrumentation, among others. And again, Butler didn't spend any time in prison as a result of a deal between prosecutors and the defense. Butler is now 18, but he was under 18 when these alleged incidents happened. He was given a 78-year sentence that would have resulted in around 10 years in prison if served concurrently, Vinnie.
Let's stop right here because I'm going to have to make a part 2 to this. I'm just going to be straight up. I don't give a damn what the prosecutor or the judge had to say. If this had been any other individual, they would have been charged with rape in the first degree, and you know it. This is pathetic. This is outrageous. This is an egregious violation of law in every aspect. I don't care about his mama standing there holding his hand, caressing him to calm him down. If this had been a black young man with the same exact charges, with the same exact age, in the same town, you and I both know the district attorney would have threw his behind under the prison for the rest of his life. And you know it. I know it and you know it. This piece of trash, this piece of garbage, this putrid of an individual should have never been given a plea deal by the judge for 150 hours. It doesn't matter whether he's a football star or he handles the footballs or washes the footballs or if he's the towel boy. What about the victims? I said, what about the victims? And they say because he was 17, they didn't try him as an adult. Attempted rape in any other state is just like full-fledged rape. I'm just going to say the R verb, R word. This is disgusting. This really makes no sense at all. It's appalling. What district attorney would allow this to happen and then pretend like it's okay? And they were forced to go to school with this thing, with this garbage? Let me tell you why I'm so emotional about this. Why I'm so upset. Do you know what it's like to be falsely accused and imprisoned and have your life taken away from you? And then after the trial and after everything is said and done, they produced all the proof that substantiated the innocence of an individual, but the judge didn't give a damn. Well, it happened to me. I told them from day one, it's an outright lie. And that racist, bigoted judge and that racist, bigoted jury knew what they were doing. Yeah, I said it. What? You don't like it? I don't care. It was an all-white county. Everybody was white. And I told them they are not a jury of my peers. I don't even know these people. To do 10 years in state penitentiary in 4 different state penitentiaries for nothing? You better believe I'm fighting like hell and I'm going to win this lawsuit. I said I'm fighting like hell and I'm going to win this lawsuit. And that's one reason why I'm becoming an attorney. I got to take a quick break. I'll be right back. Tyrone Bowman Live. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Tyrone Bowman live. I'm back. I'm talking about the 150 hours that a teen rapist, I think his name is Jesse Butler, was given by the district attorney and the judge. And just before the break, I talked about how I was falsely set up and accused and in prison. Matter of fact, I can't do it on this show because I'm doing stuff, but I will put the actual newspaper article, the headline of it, on my channel entitled Breaking the Chains with Tyrone Bowman. So if you want to see it, I'll go over there in a few moments. I will take the article, I'll put the very article there, and you'll see the headline. And you'll know that I'm not lying. Now, let me get back to this, because I'm an advocate for victims. I'm not playing, I'm not joking. That's one reason why I'm becoming a criminal defense attorney. I can't stand injustice of any kind. I don't care if the person is black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. If injustice is occurring, I'm going to voice my opinion. And this situation right here, in plain old fashioned English, it ain't right. The judge is wrong down in Oklahoma. The district attorney down in Oklahoma is wrong. Y'all are just as wrong can be. And I'm going to say it again. And this was a young black man who was charged with the same mess. Y'all would have had his face plastered every day, every second, every minute, every hour, on every TV station, all across social media. You will call him an animal. You will call him a beast. You will call him a non-human. You will call him a savage. You will call him every villainous thing under the sun. And you will say, and listen, and you will make sure that the district attorney held a press conference and said, we're not going to have this type of thing take place down here in Oklahoma. We're outraged. We're incensed. You know it and I know it. A young black man would have not been given 150 hours of community service with a pat on the back and say, go live your life. Reminds me of a now ex-football star, a young black man who had a promising career to go to the NFL and was falsely accused of raping a white woman. And they took his life away. 15 years later, he broke down in court and cried like a worse than a child when he found out that she had lied, that it never happened. The so-called exculpatory evidence that the district attorney lied and said that they had, they knew from day one that the young man was innocent, but they didn't give a damn because they wanted that conviction to enhance and further their career. I have no respect for district attorneys and judges who are corrupt. None. I have no respect for corrupt preachers. I have no respect for corrupt judges. I have no respect for corrupt law enforcement officers. None whatsoever. I don't have it. Pretty soon I'm gonna do a video about the black power structure in Philadelphia, and they're not getting anything done for Philadelphians. I'm going to lay them out as well. They complained when all the white people had their power in Philadelphia. Now that all the black people have the power, from the mayor down to the city council and every place else, they're doing nothing. So I'm going to deal with that this week. You said it. What? I don't care if the mayor's popular. Do what you said you're going to do. Now, this story right here, it's appalling. I'm going to make this a two-part, as I said. I want to go back to Vinnie. I want to hear what Vinnie has to say real quick.
And it's corroborated by the video. So one of the stories, that she gives, one of the statements that one of the victims gives is fully corroborated on the video, which tells you about the rest of their statements as well. Now, let's talk about the victims here. Have we heard anything from the victims?
Yeah, Vinnie, we have. The arrest warrant affidavit included what looks to be a letter one of the victims wrote to the court. And in it, she says, quote, "I will never forget the night you strangled me unconscious because I said no. That moment changed my life. A medical professional later told me that I was just 30 seconds away from dying. 30 seconds. If you had kept your hands on my neck just a little longer, I wouldn't be standing here today. That wasn't just a scare, it was a near-death experience. You didn't just hurt me, you nearly killed me. And because of that one act of violence, I had to have surgery on my neck. The damage you caused wasn't invisible, and it wasn't temporary. The pain lingered for months, and now the scar is something I'll carry for the rest of my life, a permanent reminder of what you did to me. I will never forget Marble Slab when you pinned me down, touched my body without permission while I begged you to stop. I screamed no over and over, and you ignored it. I will never forget what it felt like when you pinned me inside your truck and said, "You're not going anywhere until I finish," like I was just something to be used. You didn't just hurt me physically, you took pieces of my safety, my peace, and my sense of who I was. What you did wasn't just violence, it was betrayal, fear, shame, humiliation, and pain layered over and over. And over again, he told me that if I ever told anyone what he was doing, he would kill me, he would kill my family. I hope that one day you actually face what you've done, not just get punished, but really face it. Every time you ignored my no, every time you forced yourself on me, every time you laughed while I cried. I hope you understand how much it haunts me. And Vinnie, some parents of the victim also wrote letters to the court as well, but Vinnie, reading those words right there written by that victim, it's almost like you can just feel the pain and trauma with each word and each line that she wrote in that letter.
And again,
Let me stop this for right now because I'm going to do part 2 on tomorrow. But I'm going to say this. That fat piece of garbage, you said everything that was in that letter. You said it. Oh, yes, you did. You are a pathetic piece of crap. And I hope you see this video. You are trash. You're garbage. Your ass belongs beneath the foundational structure of the prison. You get no empathy at all for what you did. See, I'm a real advocate. I don't back down. I'm no coward. I will fight for what is right. If I have to stand and stand alone, doesn't matter with me. And this is called righteous indignation now. Because psychologically, mentally, these women are hurting and they're suffering. And their cries and their pleas have been ignored by a ruthless district attorney and a corrupt judge who made a side deal, probably with somebody in his family. He deserves to be in prison for the rest of his life. Point blank. That's where he deserves to be. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over to my other channel called Breaking the Chains with Tyrone Bowman. And if you want to see the headline of the article, it will be on that channel. I'm going to load it up as soon as I upload this video. And once I put it there, it's going to stay there. For those of you who are hurting and you're real victims of crime, help is on the way. You didn't do anything wrong. And don't allow some pathetic, rotten piece of garbage like that to cause you to ruin yourself on the inside of your life. Yeah, what? I don't care if folk get upset. They just have to be mad. Never surrender. Never quit.